of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to take this time, first of all, I want to thank, if there's anybody in here that sent me any flowers or cards because of my personal losses, and then I want to bring everybody's attention, and since we met last time, we lost Sidney Applebaum, who was a huge, huge impact in the city of Sunbury and the Applebaum family for many, many years. So keep that family in your prayers. Thank you. Roll call.
Christine?
Here.
Rainbow? Here. Reichner?
Here.
Henry?
Here.
Ister?
We did have, I want to announce, we did have a 15-minute executive session to talk about police personnel before we came up here. I now need a motion to approve the minutes of the Treasurer, Engineer, Code Office, Public Works, Redevelopment Authority, and the Planning Commission. Need a second?
Second.
Kramer?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Ister? Yes. Christine?
Yes. All right, at this time, we're going to put the council meeting on hold. Oh, I'm sorry. And turn this over to Mr. Cook. Robert here. There we go.
I'm new here, where would you like to go?
You want to get back to our meeting? This is CFO. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. The Sunbury City Council plans to submit an application for the next federally funded home program for housing rehabilitation funds. This is a housing and urban development funding program that channels down through the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, and it is a competitive application. The history of the program is thus far we have had grants amounting to nearly $800,000 that have allowed us to rehabilitate 25 units of housing at an average cost of $31,988. In this next round, we anticipate that we'll be able to do 12 units. If you look at the agenda that I gave you, program requirements, that you own your home is a federal requirement. The income guidelines are federal requirements. The taxes and being up to date on your taxes and your sewer and water, that's a local requirement that's been adopted by the city. Targeting areas where the work is to take place, that's both a local choice and a DCED matter, and DCED will make recommendations based on the input of council, and they may change that midstream, not midstream in the grant, but as part of the application process. The anti-displacement plan, we do not displace people as part of this. The only circumstance that we might do that if there's a very young person in the home and we're dealing with lead-based paint. It might be dangerous. We might move someone out for a period of time while we do that work. I don't know that that's happened since it hasn't happened in my 8 years at City Clock. I'm not sure it has ever happened. Finally, before the grant takes place, we do what is known as a Tier 1 environmental review, where someone from our community development staff looks at the entire area of Sunbury and makes an environmental assessment and maps of your area. And then when we get into projects, we then know where projects are pinpointed, and we will do a Tier 2 environmental assessment that's specific to the homes that we're working on in the areas where we are. So kind of involved. So I will open it up now. Let me point out that we'll have written comments and questions open until the 22nd of September at 4 o'clock, and you can, I attached my business card to the agenda, so if you want to get in touch with me with any comments or questions until then, you can do it that way. And then on October 10th, the plan would be to pass a formal resolution stating that the city is interested in pursuing this grant. And then we would apply for the grant on or before October 31st. And help more people get things done to their home, and it lifts up. It lifts the city, it lifts your property values generally. I think of it as a very positive thing for the community. If you have any questions now, it's still before the 22nd. You could ask questions. I hope to be able to answer them. And if not, you
I'll
have.
ask one
There's
thing.
a question for
Oh, hi.
What is the financial criteria for that?
Well, it basically, it mirrors Section 8 financial criteria. So they use those guidelines. Does that answer your question? Pardon me? Well, Sue, you want to help me?
Well, the numbers vary by county and they vary by number of people in the household, so it's not easy to give you a specific number. For a family of 1 to 2, it's probably, I'm making up these numbers, but somewhere around 32,000 to 34,000 probably for family income, yearly gross family income.
Okay, so we're speaking of Northumberland County, so does that help the,
I don't have the tables with me. Those are numbers that feel about right to me, but don't hold me to them. It could be 1,000 more or less. You can certainly call me at the office and I'll look them up for you.
okay.
When someone calls to apply, that's one of the first things we ask to see if the phone call needs to go any farther, frankly. And most of them do.
The triage.
Yeah, exactly. Good word. Yes?
Are these going to be located in a specific neighborhood, or are they anywhere in the city of Sunbury?
Well, we're at a very early stage now, so we work with the elected officials to try to identify areas where we think the most need is. And we also look at our existing waiting list, and we look at other projects that have happened in that area that it's referred to as leverage. They like to see improvements that sort of reflect other improvements that might not be housing. That's why you saw work on Chestnut Street, because Chestnut Street was being revitalized, and that was also one of our awards in this current grant. And that can also, they also take in private investment into consideration. The state does. For instance, if someone's building a restaurant or improving their auto dealership or whatever, then they use that to factor in.
Okay, any questions? Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now revert back to the city council meeting. Is there any audience comment on any specific agenda items at this time? Any SRI report, Megan?
At the Albright Center, we had a really productive and positive month. In the main hall of the facility, we had 30 volunteers come from Susquehanna. 28 were first-year students and 2 adult volunteers to help pull the carpet and padding and felt out of the main hall. And that involved moving all the pews out and then back. So it was a lot of work done in just a few short hours. And then some council members came in and made sure everything was put back together and cleaned up. So that was a huge improvement, huge step forward, a big project that had to be done. We also, don't think I got to mention this at the last meeting, but we received the $200,000 from the Pennsylvania state budget with the support of Representative Linda Culver and Senator Porter. So we really appreciate that. We will be applying again for tax credit application next week, and we have a lot of other funding requests out. So it's been, everybody's been working really hard on that, really moving it forward. Business and Economic Development has a biz pitch competition coming up here in the next couple months, so please keep an eye out for updates on that. There's still, T-Biz had a couple things falling through to them, but there's still a lot of excitement. They're still moving forward. The Market Street location is not going to work. State Farm grant Festa Wine and Brew Festival is this Saturday from 1 to 5. It's $35 for a ticket, it's 40 at the door. Tickets are available at Wise Markets and then also at Brewers Outlet, so make sure to stop by there. And we just had the Renaissance Festival, we just had the River Festival, so it's a busy time right now. Good turnouts at both. Renaissance Festival was a little earlier than we hoped, but it still was really a lot of positive comments from people that were there. People were really appreciative of what we did that day, which was this past Saturday, and also Movies on the River. A lot of really good public commentary on Press Happened. That was the last one, just a couple weeks ago. Just so you know, coming up, there was intended to be a summer concert at the end of this month. We canceled that just due to so many events going on. Wanted to just focus on the other ones that we had going on. October 22nd is Booze and Brews, supported by the whole neighborhood. That's going to be at the Armory from 1 to 5. October 28th and 9th is their haunted house, and then December is Late Night Shoppers. So just keep an eye out for more information on those. Going forward.
A lot of stuff going on. Any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
As Director of Finance and Accounts, do you never give us a report on how much money you make and how much it costs?
We usually don't, just because we're not like a arm of the city perhaps, we're more so just we're.
I know, but you use a lot of city property to do your events. That's why I'd like to see some reports.
Yeah, we'd be glad to share that information, just, let us know what you'd like to see.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Doesn't look like you have much spare time, Mayor.
Huh?
Doesn't look like you have much spare time, so.
No,
good job.
not this past month or two, that's for sure.
How would tickets going on Wine Fest?
Wine Brew Fest seems to be going good. Our ticket sales are just ahead of where they were last year, so, and we've been picking up a lot of steam online. We're seeing a lot more responses and conversation, chatter out there about it. So we're, a lot more tickets. I think the weather looks good so far from what I've seen, so, anyway. All right, anything else? Okay, thanks.
These days it's going to rain non-stop for a week.
Well, everybody probably glad, especially farmers.
Okay. All right. New business, hard approval, Rick.
Okay, Dave, I'm gonna jump to the radios while I'm here, then I'm gonna let Mike
Okay.
do the hard. It's been in the paper and everything, the county's been gonna change over the radio bases, and they provided some equipment to all the fire companies and the county. Not everything that the fire companies needed. So the fire company, the chiefs, we've been reading on about, they're going to be purchasing the additional equipment that they need. And I guess they've done this before with the air packs before, I mean, maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago, I don't know. But at any rate, what I'm going to do tonight is have council, requested council give the approval to go have Treasurer Troop shop alone for $117,000 roughly to purchase this stuff, and it will be paid back by the monies that come from the state, as it was done before with the air packs. So, and they wanted, Mr. Troop wanted 30 days to shop the note, so I'm asking with the commission to go ahead and ask him to go ahead and start shopping that note. Plus the equipment's supposed to be coming in the end of this month or sometime next month, is that correct, Wes? Sometime October. So give some time that you can shop the note, back the note, and then as long as, and my understanding is that's how, is that correct, how the fire department wants to do that? Pay it back to the annual monies that comes to them to the relief fund?
Yeah, same way we did the air packs. Yeah, last time we went through it, we just took the relief association check to get back in the beginning of October, somewhere around 47,000 was.
And I'm not sure that that's an exact figure, but that was, Jason emailed me this past week with some extra discounts and stuff that were there, that thought it would be $117,000. It was up like a little over $120,000.
All around, I shopped all the banks in town, so I'm correct, last night. You guys can decide how you want to do it, if you want to do it, how you want to do it, so I'll back.
Well, you want to add then, Brianna, we'll just draw up a small agreement.
Sure, absolutely. As we get closer.
Well, the question's gonna be, who's gonna own the equipment? If the city's taking the loan out, and they're buying the
Yeah, we
equipment.
just say with the air packs, when you guys own the equipment and the air packs in you. All we do is want to secure the loan for you last time around, Jerome.
Yeah, they, and, you know, of course, the Relief Association can do the same thing. They can secure a loan just as easily.
But they won't get as good as rate by going, if we go through the city, the department will get a better rate.
How do you know?
Yes.
That's the last time it happened, that's what they came, because we ended up securing a better rate for them. I wasn't treasurer at the time, but that's what happened. I mean, I'm just only going by what happened before. I mean, it's up to you guys.
It doesn't make any
Handle it,
difference
You know
to
what I
me.
mean?
It doesn't make any difference to me.
I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me either. I mean, if the fire department came to us.
They have the collateral to put up for the loan.
I'm sure they agree.
They got more than enough to put up for the loan.
So whatever you guys want to do, you know, that's fine with us, you know what I mean?
I
We're
guess,
here to help you work it
that
out.
can be ironed out, but I just want to get, we're 30 days out to shop.
Hey, it doesn't cost anything for us about shopping, so you know, you guys do the same thing,
I
you
mean,
know.
you can get like a really low interest loan, that's great.
They're coming in at like 104, something like that.
You
So
get it for that.
What's
That's
that?
no brainer, you should get it for that.
What's that, Jerome?
I said, that's no brainer, if you can get
But
it.
you
Yeah,
have no
that's
idea
what
what
they're
percentage you
coming
could
in
get?
for right now.
Yeah.
What's that?
You have no idea what percentage you could get.
No credit. No, percent. Could be different. So it's always been through you guys.
Rusty, the farmer's league, when I first invested at World Bank, locally or outside the state?
I believe it's Northern National.
Okay, so you guys have roughly $750,000. Okay, but that's the number. I would make a phone call through the Sunbury Fire Department, because it's your money is invested there, am I correct? You just ask them a real quick question. You get your number, and Kevin, you check your number.
Yeah, and the person you want to talk to will be Tom Christian.
The amount of money you have sitting there, they might give you, because it's for the equipment.
Especially with the amount of money you have sitting in that account, they might be able to do the rate, especially if you have cash on hand. So they might be able to do that rate at a heck of a rate for you.
Your goal would be to get the best rate, no matter who gets it. So it would be
Consider
senseless
that-
for you not to look into it, so you look
Considering you're
into it.
taking that check coming in and coming out, you know, so all kidding aside, you have that much money sitting there, you'd be amazed what they might be able to do for you. I mean, if you want, I'll even ask Tom that, you know, question I call, put this on, you know, so.
Second issue.
Yeah, I made the motion.
The motion was just to support it.
Reichner,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes. Mike, would you then do the hard thing for it?
Glad to. 440 Chestnut Street, was 440 Chestnut Street, it's now a vacant lot. The owners live next door at 442, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett. They bought the property in hopes to fix it up and do some investments with it. However, they found that the property was in a state of disrepair, and it's going to cost too much money to repair. So they did tear it down. To benefit from it, they want to put in some off-street parking coming off of Chestnut Street. Fortunately, at one point, there was some off-street parking there because there already a curb cut. And the reason why they came before Harb, they want to actually split the property into, they want to put the back part as a yard, front part, of course, as parking. And they proposed to put a 6-foot wooden fence up and paint it white, which the Harb did approve that. You will see there's a note on the application that says that no construction can occur past the aesthetics of the front of the home. And that is the reason why at the meeting, they had discussed putting a carport in the future, maybe years down the road. So they had a discussion about that also, but that is not a approved project at this point. They're going to come back when they're in a better position to move in and put that structure in. And it was the recommendation was given and approved by the parliament.
I'll make a motion, we accept the recommendation of the park.
Henry,
Yes.
Eister, Persing,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes. And then Brianna, if you would, I would turn that over to you on that resolution for 836 Susquehanna Avenue, since you and Mike have been working on that.
Sure. I have a resolution before council tonight for a subdivision plan regarding properties at 836 Susquehanna Avenue and 837 North River Avenue in Sunbury. These properties were involved with a subdivision back in 1990, where they were divided into two equal parcels, namely 836 Susquehanna Avenue and 837 River Avenue. And whereas that subdivision plan was recorded on June 24th, 2002, and the parcels are 25 by 75, they butt up against each other, and the legal descriptions of these parcels are accurately plotted in accord with the subdivision plan that's of record. Property taxes, including the property taxes to the city of Sunbury, have been paid on both properties since 1990 correctly. And whereas the current owner of the property at 836 Susquehanna Avenue has entered into an agreement of sale to transfer title to said property. And in completing the title search for that property transfer, it was noted that in 1990, the property in question was not subdivided in accordance with the municipal planning code. There's a signature missing on the subdivision plan. So as a housekeeping matter here, I'll continue with this resolution. In order to pass the title of the property 836 Susquehanna Avenue, the prospective buyer has requested that the city of Sunbury pass this resolution, waiving any such requirement and acknowledging that it will not bring an enforcement action against the purchaser of said property or her heirs, successors, and assigns. And finally, whereas the appropriate municipal officials and the solicitor for the city have reviewed this request and are recommending that the proposed waiver be granted, particularly in light of the language included on the subdivision plan already of record. So now, therefore, the city of Sunbury would resolve with the request submitted for the properties at 836 Susquehanna Avenue and 837 North River Avenue, which are both within the city of Sunbury grants the requested waiver and acknowledges that it will not directly or indirectly bring or institute any enforcement action or actions against the owner or owners of either the property at 836 Susquehanna Avenue or the property at 837 North River Avenue in Sunbury, or their heirs, successors, and assigns. And I would put this resolution before City Council tonight, again, as a housekeeping matter, so that the real estate transaction can continue.
I'll make that motion.
Ister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Reichtner,
Yes.
Henry.
Yes.
Brianna, who is the property owner?
The property owner, it's Harmon and Jones, and I'm gonna second guess myself here. I believe Harmon is the property owner, and Jones would be the prospective buyer, but I may have that back.
Sure, sure.
Apologize. It's not-
Thank you.
Who to pay invoices, Beth?
Right now, from the general fund, I'd like to make a motion. From the general fund, we pay $35,726.15, and for liquid fuels, we pay $10,338.27. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Persing,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Reichtner,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Ister.
And may I say on that note, it's that time of year again, guys, where we start watching it. October, September,
You know, we're cutting off.
in
all
November,
funds.
it gets tight, so please watch your spending for the next 8 to 10 weeks. Okay? Just a word of advice.
Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Treasurer.
Word of advice, guys, it gets tight this time of year. Thank you.
Beth?
For the tax exonerations, we have 6 people on the list. There's quite a few taxes, but all of them are deceased, so there is no way to recoup the money. So I'd like to make a motion that we exonerate these 6 people.
Kramer,
Yes.
Reichtner,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Ister, Persing.
Yes. While we're on the new business, I just want to mention a few things. I notice there's nothing on here, but I want to try to give everybody, because we've been, since we got our new chief and everybody knows our intent, what we're trying to get accomplished, and we are moving forward pretty fast, way ahead on the SOPs as far as rewriting all the procedures and everything, so that's getting accomplished. Everybody's aware that we're still sitting in arbitration, waiting for some decisions to be made there, so we don't know what the contract's gonna cost us. That's important, and I am hoping to the best, well, nothing we can do about it, we're hoping to have that settled by the end of the year, so when we sit down here and talk about budgets, we can talk about budgets, so hopefully that's gonna take place. But I did want to update everybody a little bit on just some of the things that we're doing and some of the directions we're gonna go. Again, this is all based on the 17 contract, it'll also be based on the 2017 budget, which we'll start talking about, I would imagine, another 2 months anyway, something like that. 2 weeks? Okay. Well, you know how that is, so you start getting the pencils out, though, it's 2 months, then you get there, but when you get near the end anyway. But anyway, one of the issues is that we've always talked about men on the, guys on the streets and police presence, and we still believe in that, but we're going to shift a little bit towards criminal investigations, because we've always, poor Officer Quinn's been doing that by herself now for the 3 months that Blaze has been off, and hopefully, the good news is we're going to see him back here directly. We're keeping our fingers crossed. But anyway, we're going to shift some responsibilities around, and when I said in the beginning, when we hired our Chief Miller, that things are going to change, and things are changing. And again, I'm just trying to give everybody the outline as to what direction we're going in. They should understand that the patrol section and the criminal investigation section, we're going to go a little bit more to the criminal investigation section to get, for everything from sexual abuse to robberies and things like that, because we've been overwhelmed with some of that. So as we shift guys around, and as the chief gets more responsibilities, understands everybody's responsibilities, rewrites responsibilities, everybody will have and then we still must stay within the realm of the contract, even based on the contract we have now, and not the changes that are going to be taking place. But there's like almost a new position we're going to call it captain for right now, and we're going to create that within the realm of the contract and what we can do. And those responsibilities will be a little bit, again, helping the investigative part of it to move that forward. Hopefully, like I said, we get Sergeant Taylor and Sergeant Blaze back here pretty soon to help out in this procedure. So it's a long-going procedure, but our goal is to have it in place at least by the end of the year, so when we have a budget, we can make some constant decisions and how that's going to take place. So again, I'm not here to give you a lot of details. I'm not here to argue about anything. I'm just pretty much here to tell you that the police department is moving forward. Everybody seems to be working well. We're interviewing part-time people right now. We will take a test. I don't know what the date is in October for full-time people. We're out, like I say, doing background checks on people. So our goal is to hopefully, and I'll be up here fighting when it comes budget time to get us back to 12. I've always been a big believer that it takes 12. So, we cleared it, and that's, again, going to depend on how many of these guys come back, if they can physically come back and things like that. So. There's a lot of things to be done, a lot of things are going to be done, but I just want everybody to know we're going in a positive direction, we're going in the right direction, and as soon as things are finalized, and like I said, the contract would be huge if we could get an answer to that, but as we progress, we will let everybody know, and I'm not saying there's nothing, the streets are safe right now, and the police department's doing an excellent job, it's just going to do it a different direction. So but the bottom line is they're here. There's a lot of guys sitting in the back right now, but they're here for the simple reason that they want to protect the city of Sunbury, and that's your lives and property, and that's what they get paid to do. And hopefully, well, I see Mr. Blaze is back there. Maybe I shouldn't have spoke when you're going to come back. Well, hopefully you're coming back soon. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. So thank you for listening.
So, on that note, David, what are the sticking points of the arbitration?
The entire contract is 28 items. So it's not 5. There's supposed to be 4 or 5 sticking points. There's 28 of them. So that has to get really, really, really whittled down, and we get down to 3 or 4 of them. That's what we want to do.
Just to clarify too, it's not like contract negotiations right now. We're waiting to hear back from the arbitrator. It's not that we've already had our sit-down moment with the arbitration panel, and now we're waiting for a response, whether or not there'll be a follow-up event or if there will just be a decision.
Okay, so is there a time period for that, or is it just when they come back to you, or?
We're regularly looking into it and requesting more information, but
Is it 30 days, is it 45 days?
It's up to the arbitrator, so we're at their mercy, but we have been trying to prompt it, especially with the upcoming budget.
We're at audience comment. Yes, sir.
Who's the captain?
Me.
Who's the captain going to be? Captain's going to be Officer Bennett.
Thank you, sir.
Officer Bannock wants to come up here and your significant other would like to pin your bars on the collar, I stopped and got you some today. I'll show you how to pin them on, come on up.
Don't fall.
She's worried, she's not sure where to go, so I'll just stop around.
Up his forehead.
I'll give you two more. Let's get the first one on, and you can.
Hold on.
You know other people pay. No. That's why they don't pay you to be a photographer. That's right. Basically, you're gonna buy some call. So they're not touching my lines.
Thank you.
The other one's easy. Is that true enough for now? Close enough for everyone? Pick you up.
There it is.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, go back to the street. There you go. You all feel safe. One comment? Yes, sir.
Is there a pay increase that comes with this new position?
We're going to talk about that this week.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I needed your name.
I'm Kurt Karlovich,
Will you spell that?
Karlovich.
So, now wait a minute, you put somebody into office and then you discuss their salary? Isn't that
We've been
kind of
discussing her
backwards?
salary. We're not, payroll starts next Monday, so this week we're meeting. There's other things we need to talk about also, so.
Shouldn't you put that in place before you,
We have a range. We agreed on a range. So we're gonna talk, once we understand the specific new responsibilities he's gonna have, we'll talk about that this week. Yes, sir.
And just another thing, how was this, how was he chosen for this position? Was there an application process?